Inspire Africa Conference is a space where we are empowering the next generation of African product leaders and talent. And so through workshops, spark talks, problem framing presentations, we will get to see how founders and innovators are tackling some of Africa's most wicked problems.
It's about connection. It's about you and me. It's about our future. It's about our continent.
When you can tell the story of how big the problem is in numbers, that evidence just makes your story so much more powerful.
Good founding, right, is about shepherding, right? It's about shepherding an ecosystem.
Hello, hello. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, Queen. How you doing?
Hi, hello, Felix. Hello, Molly. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Well, I would say I've been looking forward to this since I, got the news that you guys were inviting me back to give an update on what I've been up to. I had such a great time at the conference in 2024, and it was such an honor at the time. And it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be back to give the viewers and listeners a bit more context on my story and what we're building at Kahana, and how the Inspire Africa conference, definitely shaped and influenced our direction, and definitely why you should attend this one for sure. And yeah, looking forward to diving into all the details and hearing all the great questions that Queen has for me, and having a great conversation. And hope it's useful for you guys as well.
Thanks for coming back. Felix. I just want you to, this is a bit of an informal chat. And for the founders in the room that don't know you, I would like you to introduce yourself. Tell us, please, Felix Ochefu. Tell us about your company, Kahana. What led you to start building? Just give us a gist in like 2 minutes. Who's Felix and what should we care?
Yeah. So Felix is Nigerian, proudly, travel lover, someone who loves culture, someone who loves to explore, and a builder. I really enjoy immersing myself in things. I'm also a big nerd as well, so I really love trying to understand how things work, and how we can create things that create value for people and try and help make the world a better place. So Kahana is a travel technology company. We have built an app that makes it really easy for people to travel together in a seamless and collaborative way. And the problem that we're solving is essentially the fragmentation that has become a big frustration and sore spot in the travel tech industry, specifically for group travel. Typically a group trip requires the trip lead to manage multiple different products and websites to just plan and book a single trip. The analogy I like to use to describe the problem we're solving is, imagine you wanted to book an Uber and you had to open one app to check if there's cars available in your area, a second app to book the car, a third app to pay for the car, and a fourth app to talk to the driver. That is a horrible experience. But yet in travel...
I agree.
Yeah, in travel and in group travel specifically, that's the standard experience, and it's something that hasn't really changed.
That's a nightmare, to be honest.
Yeah, it is, and hasn't changed in 3 decades since travel tech became mainstream. So we're trying to drag travel tech into the future of our technology and make it, super collaborative and focus on groups which are the largest segments of the leisure travel market, but the most underserved of the current technology. So that's a bit of me. That's Kahana, and that's
Well done. So it's almost like a super app where you can get all the different segments of your travel experience in it.
yes,
That's
exactly,
very interesting.
exactly. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, so can you talk to us about dial back to 2024?
Mhm.
What made you to attend Inspire Africa conference and then the Founders Town Hall?
Yeah, I was invited. Actually, um, I was asked if I was interested in joining the conference and also speaking at the town hall. I actually can't remember exactly how I was invited, or who I spoke to at the time. Um, yeah, I can't remember it. It's a while now. But I was invited to come, and I was actually going to go to Nigeria because I'm based in London and I live here. I was going to go to Nigeria for kind of holidays and end of the year stuff. A little later in the year, um,
Yeah,
conference happened, and I was invited to come, and I decided to come to Nigeria early. So it ended up with me staying in Nigeria for like 3 months, which was the longest I'd been in Nigeria since I left after second year.
yeah,
Um, so that's how I heard about the conference, and I hadn't heard about it before that, and I did some research and I saw the good work that the Innovate Africa team has been doing over the years. Um, Previous conferences, the kind of speakers I've been there before, and I was really, really impressed, and it was such an honor, to be asked to come and speak and tell my story. And the founders track was really interesting because one of the things I really liked about that format was it wasn't a pitch. Usually, when people ask you to come and speak about your work,
yeah.
maybe
It's a pitch.
it's to sell your products, it's to pitch, right? But this was specifically a deep dive into a problem that you're solving or your company's solving
Hmm.
that you're very passionate about. And the
Yeah,
format made it really interesting. And I think being in a room of other founders as well, the problem solving aspects of it was really engaging. And it
okay,
was one of my favorite talks I gave that year because I did a lot of public speaking that year, and that one was by far one of my favorite ones.
okay,
And I learned a lot, and I was able to also share and teach a lot as well, which was a nice balance for me.
okay. So talk to us about Kahana in 2024 and Kahana now. What has changed between that conference and now?
A lot, a lot has changed. Kahana has grown a lot as a company. I have also grown a lot as a person, as a founder, and I always say that um, the journey of entrepreneurship is as much what you build as is who you become as you're building it. And my own personal
Hmm.
growth has been, for me personally, just so amazing. It's been very challenging as well. 2024, we were still building our early version of the product. Lots of trial and error, um, lots of false starts, in terms of building technology, because essentially the technology we're building at Kahana, like you mentioned, Queen, is a super app. So in the back end, we're trying to orchestrate a few technologies together that don't natively work. For example, when you create a trip on Kahana, you're able to also have a group chat for that trip as well. That group chat allows you to also search flights directly from the airlines, send the flights to the group chats, and book and pay for the flights all in one very seamless customer journey. It sounds really clean when I say it, but to actually
Yeah,
create that and make it seamless and make sure the data is consistent
because what
across
you're
all
basically doing
technology,
is you're building an ecosystem, and then
essentially.
they all have to speak to each other. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So orchestrating that was much trickier than I expected. And 2024, we're still very much in our testing phase. I had exhibited the early version of Kahana at Web Summit in Qatar, and we got some amazing
Okay.
feedback as well. And from there, we just kept on iterating and testing and taking it around the world and, getting feedback on it. So we attempted a launch, which didn't go very well, unfortunately, after that. I'm very honest about it. Every founder knows these things, right? Um, and we learned a lot from that failed attempt. The technology wasn't very stable. Our backend fell apart. It's just so many things happened as we started to onboard real users. Um, and we decided as a team that we needed to completely rebuild the product from scratch, back end, front end, and we also used the opportunity to refresh our brand identity as well. So
Mhm.
Kahana, as we speak in 2026, has a new brand identity. We have a new logo, updated
Mm.
brand colors. we have a brand new app. We call it Kahana 2.0. We launched the app a couple of weeks ago, and we started onboarding our users and people actively using the products to plan their trips, and shopping in the app as well, because you can also shop for things you need for a trip in the app too. And we're actively talking to customers every week and making sure that we're very, very, very tightly tuned into what they need and making sure we stay ahead of the curve as well. So Kahana, as we speak today, is very, very stable. It, as far as I know, and the feedback I'm getting as well.
And we're glad to hear about it. But I want you to help me to go back to 2024.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say was your specific experience at the town hall, at the conference? So specifically, I would like you to, I don't want to speak generally. I would like you to speak about takeaways.
Yeah.
It could be something simple, but it was something it was so memorable because of the impact it had on you or impact on your business.
100%. I remember a specific case study on Trainline that the Innovate Africa team did. And it was fascinating for me because Trainline is a product I use very regularly in the UK. That's how I get my train tickets to travel around and go for meetings and things. But I had never really sat down to read about the evolution of the product. And the case study went into great detail into how the products had been transformed, the importance of talking to your customers, understanding your customers very, very deeply, understanding the use cases and edge cases of your customers as well, and your users. And also just the importance of having a strong brand, like a very, very strong brand identity. And the case study walks through how Trainline as a company had new leadership, and the leadership used a bunch of product techniques that were shared at the conference. And I don't want to spoil any specific techniques because I want people to go and actually
yeah.
And came out of the products that was extremely intuitive. But the basis of that is literally just sitting down to deeply understand customer journeys, and how people are using your products and what your customers actually need. But that requires you to sit down and spend time with your customers and your users. And that's something I really, really took away from that specific part of the conference. Outside the networking and meeting amazing founders and builders and leaders, just sitting down to go into great detail in your products and have empathy for your target customers is something that really shaped, the Kahana at the time has continued to shape the way we approach building products to this day. So yeah, that's definitely, a big takeaway for me. It really sharpened my products thinking, during that session. So shout out to the Innovate Africa team for that. It was
Thank you for sharing that. What would you say? So I think you've shared a bit about the progress you've made in your business. So you mentioned a few things. One was the growth that you experienced as a founder.
Yeah.
You spoke about your logo, brand identity change. You spoke about failed launch, mobile app, building a super app, stronger and better engineering.
Yeah.
So I think, because I was going to ask you more about what specifically changed in the business, but I think you've spoken more to products. Can you speak more to the business?
Yeah.
So there's a business structure and there's the business entity, and there's products.
Yeah.
And founders are expert at building products. They're not really good at building businesses.
Yeah.
So can you speak to what changed in the business for you as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. I would say two things changed. As of 2024, I think I was still a little bit too excitable about the idea of like venture capital and raising money for the business, right? We attempted to fundraise, didn't go very well. The typical stuff, no traction and things like that. And I kept getting caught in this back and forth loop between trying to raise to kickstart some traction and not having enough traction to raise. You go back and back.
Yeah, chicken and egg.
And it's a horrible place to be in, right? I'll be very frank.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And what really got us out of it was essentially me just getting completely fed up of the experience and saying, we're just going to focus on sales and partnerships.
Mhm.
And essentially going back to the basics of business, right? How are you making money? How are you getting your customers? What strategies you're using to onboard your users? That type of thing. So we started having really interesting conversations with partners, potential partners at the time, to see how we can embed our technology to make sure like our business was much healthier, and we're getting much sharper in terms of acquiring our users, not one by one, but also through partnerships, acquiring users en masse as well, like at scale, right? So I think that's focusing more on sales and partnerships was something that has really improved since 2024. And then also for me personally, last year was a bit of a rough year for the business. That's why we decided to rebrand and everything. Sorry, not rebrand, do a brand upgrade. I also started getting exposed to more policy level conversations around Africa travel specifically, actually off the back of my talk at the Inspire Africa conference, because I spoke about Africa travel and the problems with Africa travel. And I started getting drawn into conversations at the policy level, geopolitical level around Africa and Africa travel and the problems it has, and how we can enable tourism much more efficiently. But I felt quite insecure because I felt like I wasn't at the level that I could sit in those rooms and have those conversations confidently, and I felt like I just needed to really sharpen up my expertise as a founder. So I decided to go back to school
Okay.
to do a master's, which is kind of a very sideways
Masters or MBA?
Master's.
Okay, masters in what?
Strategy and innovation.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where?
at Oxford University,
Oh, nice.
the school. So I applied to Oxford, specifically strategy and innovation, because I really wanted to understand how to leverage strategic thinking and innovation at the highest levels. And I'm glad it's something that we're really diving deep in university, and it's making my work so much better. You're seeing things in like 4D. Like you have a technology, that's your stack, but you also have
Yeah.
what the technology can enable when you actually become really, really successful.
Mhm.
So it's really helped kind of shape my strategic thinking and have a look at the impact that a business like this can have. It's not just a travel app. It's something that can really become infrastructure to enable seamless travel at the global scale. So most of my ambition for what we're doing at Kahana has really, it was really big, but it's really stepped up, just based
Yeah.
on exposure and what I've seen and learned from some of the best builders and most successful entrepreneurs in the world coming to Oxford and showing us how it's done essentially. So I'd say those are probably the two biggest changes in terms of like the business.
Awesome.
Off
So
the part,
basically, you developed your own leadership skills, and that kind of affected the business.
yes,
Okay.
yes, it really has. And then also in
Mm.
partnerships as well. We signed 2 big partnerships recently. Again, going back to what I mentioned about partnership-led strategy, right? There's only so much you can do as a relatively small company. You have to work with brands, that really align with your vision. So we
Yes.
signed partnerships with Airalo, which is the biggest eSIM company in the world, and also Enterprise Mobility, which is the biggest rental car company, mobility company in the world as well. So our users can get eSIMs, through the Kahana app at great prices,
Oh,
and
that's
also
amazing.
us as well at great
Okay.
prices too. So that's something I'm
Yeah.
very proud of that's happened in recent months.
I think you're doing the Lord's work. I think you're solving a very important problem
Thank
with
you.
Hannah.
Appreciate that.
And
Thank you.
you're solving what we call a wicked problem, because it's a difficult problem, but it's a problem that has scalability prospect because of the widespread nature of people who need a solution, right?
Yeah.
But looking at how far you've built, how old is Kahana?
Kahana is that was a trick question to answer, because there's when I registered the company. Then there's when I went full time, and then there's when we actually started. So depending on which you're looking at it, I would say Kahana is about 4 years old.
4 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So roadmap, what does it look like? 5 years, 10 years? Is this IPO? Is this M&As? What does it look like for you in terms of growth?
Yeah. I don't want to mince my words here. Kahana can be the biggest travel tech company in the world. That's our ambition. We want the number one spot. We want Kahana. We want people to think of Kahana every time they think of group travel. Group travel is 60% of the entire leisure travel markets globally, and none of the big players are serving groups. That space is wide open, and we want to take that. So we think Kahana can be $50 billion company at scale. Based on our product strategy as well, like the idea of a
basically unicorn status is what you're going for.
Oh, unicorn status by 2030. That's what we're aiming for to just begin, and then from there, we scale up massively. I've taken Kahana all around the world. US, we've launched in Africa. We did a launch for December last year. I've taken Kahana as far as Japan. The use case is the same. The frustrations are the same. So we know Kahana solves a global scalable problem, and because of our kind of native network effects, because we're group travel, right? Our customer acquisition is also much healthier than the likes of Booking or Skyscanner, for example.
Yeah,
we're acquiring entire communities of people at once versus one user at a time, because it's group travel. Everybody we onboard wants to bring their own people anyway, right? So we know that once that critical mass starts happening, it's not happening yet, but once it starts happening, the scalability is enormous. And we also are building the foundations for one of the deepest data profiles and customer data profiles of any player in travel industry. And that allows us to also build some really interesting stuff in terms of AI and agentic capabilities, that are truly personalized to travelers at that kind of scale. So Kahana, I want Kahana to be the biggest travel tech company in the world. Our team is working very hard to make that happen. And Africa is, very central to that strategy as well. I find it really irritating when companies, think about global strategy and they say, Middle East and Africa, as if it's one market. Even in Africa, there's so many different flavors, of the market. So, Africa is very, very central to our global strategy in terms of being number one in the world. And something we're taking very seriously. We're starting from Europe first, cutting our teeth and making sure our foundations are very strong. But once it's time to scale with the right partnerships, with the right funding as well, we haven't raised any VC money so far. We're hoping to do so early next year, so we can really take it to the next level. So yeah, that's my ambition for Kahana, and my team is working very hard, to make that happen as fast as possible, because the world needs it. People.
I agree.
About it, like Dangote complains that he needs 30-something visas to travel around Africa. Things like that. It's like that cannot be the world that we're living in, where it's that difficult to move around the world, and that difficult for Africans specifically to move around their own continent. It makes no sense to me. But lots of that are technology problems that technology can solve. So if we can be one of the players to contribute to making the world more seamless for people to move around and become critical infrastructure for global travel, that's a $50 to $100 billion company right there. And it'll be very exciting for us to be that.
Awesome. Can you share in terms of in 4 years, how many users have you been able to get to use the product?
Yeah, so our community as we sit right now is almost 1,500 in terms of we call them Kahana Explorers. We've launched a couple products over the years, which combined has probably reached maybe a couple hundred users. So not massive scale. When we decided to rebuild Kahana and basically start from scratch, we really started from scratch. right? So
Yes.
right now we're approaching. We've only been out for a couple of weeks now. We're approaching 200 travelers on our platform. Right now, and then obviously the community, is there as well. And these are active users planning trips. We're talking to them every week to make sure that the experience is very, very good. We wanted to start a little smaller this time rather than trying to go crazy and get a lot of users coming in at once. We wanted to make sure that we get our first 1,000 true fans. So by the end of the year, we want to hit 1,000 users. But we want 1,000 users to really have the best experience on the product, and it's super seamless for them because they will be ambassadors to then bring in more people as well.
Yes.
Because we have a community-focused strategy. So we haven't been focused on massive scale so far. We've been focused on making sure it's the best product for that community first, grow with them, and then from there we'll take it. Yeah.
So I have a question about the 200. Are those individuals booking group tours, or the group members are part of the 200?
Yeah, so we don't do tours on Kahana. So think of Kahana as sort of a WhatsApp meets Waka now. It's
Okay.
kind of like that. So we don't do tours. Kahana gives you the ability to create your own trips. So you literally give your trip a name, description, destination, dates. And in every trip, you have the ability to search flights directly from the airlines, your group chats, and you can add people to your trips, right? Add your friends, family, team members, whoever, right? When you search for a flight, let's say from Lagos to London, for example, you see the tickets, the offers from we have access to almost 300 airlines around the world. So basically all your top airlines, right? You can send them to the group chats and you can book and pay for those flights there and then. That's what we've started from with Kahana.
Yeah.
The next level on top of that is hotels. So we're going to enable hotels as well. And then we'll start building more on top of that. So we call that our group engine to begin with. So they're no tours. The closest things to tours that we have are, we know that not everybody is going to have ideas for their own trips. So we've created a new feature called Kahana Experiences, where global events from around the world that you can actually build your group trip around in one click.
Yeah.
So let's say Dirty December, for example, is, we have a whole section in the app called For the Culture. Dirty December is in there. Anybody can create their own Kahana trip around Dirty December, around the dates and everything. It could be AFCON next year in Uganda, Tanzania.
It could be World Cup, it could be anywhere.
World Cup. And then you can book your flights for that as well. You can chat and you can plan the app and everything. So it's literally and it's a one-stop shop, and you can shop in the app too for the things that you need for your trip, from eSIMs to skincare to fashion, to mobility, everything you need all in one place for you. So no.
So you said you're starting from Europe. So
Yes.
what's the next stop? Is it Africa or is it the Americans?
So we already have users from 10 different countries. Kahana is a global product. We say starts in Europe because we're based in Europe, but we're not building specifically for anywhere specifically, right? So anybody from anywhere can actually use Kahana right now. It's on the App Store, iOS only for now. We're launching Android a bit later. Because we're here, most of our go-to-market and community building initiatives have been in the UK, in London specifically. We did do our first international community and launch last year for this December in Lagos. And it's something that we want to continue to do as part of our go-to-market strategy, literally meet the travelers where they are, right? So, but Kahana is available globally. So anybody can use it from anywhere.
Awesome. So let's dive back to you as a founder.
Yes.
How will you describe your journey so far? Like, what do you know now that you wish you knew when you started building?
Oof, that's a question. What do I know now that I wish I knew when I started? I guess probably how fundraising actually works. like the actual, the human aspects of the fundraising experience, not not what you're told.
Not the deal room, not the pitch decks, but
Yeah, not the pitch decks.
the
All that stuff is those are good to have, but fundraising is very subjective, So I think
yes.
I would have been a lot more patient with myself. I don't think I would have tried to raise money as early as I was doing. Because they tell you have a good idea and everything, like you can raise money for it. Someone will write you a check of $100,000 or whatever it is. That has changed a lot since early days of Kahana, even since 2024. The world has changed. The problem still hasn't been solved. But I think I would have taken more time to really understand how fundraising actually works in terms of how to talk to investors, where they hang out, the geographic advantages of being located in a specific place, and all that stuff. So I think there's that. And then also I would have, looking back now, I should have taken a lot more walks. I know it sounds kind of silly, but
a lot more what?
Walks. I'd have walked much more than than when I first started. Just to,
well, that's to help you clear your head, or what?
I'm telling you. I'm telling you, because there's so much, like building a startup is heavy on using your head. But I think it's also important to really look after your body, and really treat yourself like an athlete, because it takes.
Did you make any mistakes when it came to co-founders or team?
Yes, I did. I did. So I'm a solo founder. I tried to get co-founder early in the journey, and it just didn't really work out. So I decided to do the solo founder path. Hasn't been easy, but I have a great team. I built a great team around me. I'm super, super talented. A super, super talented team, and it really helps. It really helps having a strong team. In fact, I always brag about my team every time I get the opportunity to. One of our interns left us, and the company that she started after internet Kahana got into YC.
Oh wow!
And, for me as a leader as well, it's really, really important that your team trust you enough to just have very open communication with you, but also lead by example as well. So the solo founder path has been very, very difficult. I won't even lie to you. It's something very, very lonely. But building a great team around you, really, really helps. And I've grown a lot as a leader doing that as well. One of the mistakes I made early on is because initially I wasn't technical. I didn't really know how to build the product itself. Before I started building my team, I hired an agency to work with me to build the very early version of the MVP for Kahana. The first V1 working product. And it was a terrible experience. I spent I basically spent all my savings, and the product just wasn't great, and very quickly I realized that it's really important to build your products in-house, just so that you're close to the data and you're close to your users. When you have a third party involved, yes, they can build the products for you, but you lose that connection with your user. And me, I want to be as close to them as possible. So once we decided to bring development in-house, and I brought in one of my really good friends who is my CTO now, to work with me. We moved so much faster, and we understood the problem so much deeper, and the technology is so much deeper, because we were, trying and failing, succeeding, trying and failing, succeeding regularly, very fast, week in, week out. And that allowed us to build a product today that is much, much, much more stable. And I think, if you use Kahana today, if you compare it to like a Booking.com or, Skyscanner, it's a much better product for groups. So yeah, but the mistake was
awesome. I guess it. So build your products in-house as against outsourcing it.
And it's much easier to do it today because of all the AI tools that we have access to.
Yes. Like before now, you had to go look for a technical co-founder and sell the person on your vision. Now you can vibe code your MVP.
But it's still really important to do the basics, right? Like I'm big on customer journey mapping. While you can describe your what you want to build to an AI, so a Claude Code, for example, I still think there's no substitute to really sitting down and visualizing exactly what you want the solution to look like, and having a Claude Code or a Cursor as a partner for you to make that happen. Going back to the basics, literally just drawing things out by hand, really just visualizing and going deep into your own vision. I think it's still a very, very important part of the process. Some might say it's a bit more old school now. Maybe the young founders might think it's a bit more old school, but I still think there's no substitute for that. You have to really go deep on the technologies you need, to make a product like that work at scale as well.
Awesome. Okay, so talk to us about we're 2026 now, and we're trying to set up another Founders Town Hall, another Inspire Africa conference, another PLA product conference. So we're trying to get in, founders, early stage, growth stage founders to come in, and we need them to hear from other founders. Why do we think it's important to be a part of the Inspire Africa conference? Why should they also attend it too, which is the Founders Town Hall? How is this different from a regular tech conference? What exactly should they be looking at as outcomes of attending such?
Yeah, I mean, there's several reasons. I think what makes the Inspire Africa conference unique is the fact that you can get very inspired by some of the top products minds within Africa, outside Africa, in one place. You can learn from them. Everybody's very open. The speakers are super candid with their experience and are very, very willing to teach. So you get very inspired. I remember in 2024, I forget her name now, but I think it was the director of products at, I want to say, YouTube. And her talk was incredible, absolutely incredible. And I took a lot from that. And I was very inspired. But then when you meet founders and you are talking to people who are at the cutting edge of the problem that they're solving, but also very deeply passionate, and they just have this hustle energy, and everybody thinks they can change the world. That energy is very infectious, right? And you can learn so much from people who have literally sacrificed a lot to go down deep and solve a particular problem. So I think having the balance of both, where you meet people who inspire you, who are at the top of their game and they're leaders in industry, on the industry OGs, and young founders who are on the ground hustling, everyone's learning together. There's something really interesting that happens at that intersection, right? And I think that's something that Inspire Africa really does uniquely. And I haven't really seen, and I've attended and spoken at a lot of conferences, over the years. I think it's still something I haven't really seen anywhere else. There's that balance and that connection. And I think I have to caveat, of course, I was a speaker, so my experience was also a little bit different. I got to do some art as well. That maybe like the general attendees wouldn't be able to do. But I think it all just comes down to knowing why you're there, like what you want to get out from it, and just having open conversations, but also not planning too hard. You don't have too much of an agenda, because some of the most conversations and connections happen from just
organically. You didn't plan for them.
Yeah, at the bar, or like just during the breaks or over lunch or something. That's where a lot of those conversations happen. You never know who you bump into and who you meet and who will end up really inspiring you or working with you or investing in you and things like that. Some of the connections I made at the conference 2024 are still connections I have to this day. We still talk, we still check in, we still support each other and everything like that. So I would say that's something I really enjoyed personally, and I would encourage people who are thinking to attend to go and just see it for themselves. It's a big conference, but it also feels small. It feels intimate, and I think that's something that the team has engineered very, very well. So shout out to the team. It's something very special.
Awesome. Is there any final words you'd like to leave for founders? Anything that I didn't ask you about, where you just feel like one more if you not hear anything today, hear this.
Mm. Um, I try not to get too preachy or motivational because I think sometimes it just goes over people's heads and it feels a little bit, nobody wants to hear that. But I would say if you're a founder in a place where you're really not sure, you're doubting yourself, you're not sure if the sacrifices have been worth it, you're not sure if this is going to end up, at the scale that you have been dreaming about for months or years. You're thinking about the times where you've sacrificed quality time with your friends, family, your loved ones. I would say we understand. As a fellow founder, I understand. I'm empathetic, and my message is just keep going. You never know what you're capable of, and you never know what the next day is going to bring. Talk to the founders. Lean on your support system. This, if you please excuse my French, this shit is hard as hell sometimes, and it's lonely.
Felix, I want you to make this punchy.
You can punchy.
I know that there's a lot you can say. You've been in this process for 4 years.
Yeah.
Or one thing that you want a founder to leave here and not forget.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's an important message. Lean on your support system. The journey is long and hard. Remember why you're doing it. Remember your customers, and just keep going. The world is built by builders, right? If you're a builder, the world needs you, especially now. Africa needs more builders at every level. So if you're finding it difficult, keep going. Talk to founders, lean on your support system, and I'm really excited, to see how you change the continent.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Felix. We have a few questions.
Yeah.
Maoli will help us to project so that we could take them.
No
Please,
problem.
founders, if you can hear us, send in your questions so that we can answer. Hi, Felix. Between solo founder and 2 to 3 co-founding team, which would you recommend?
I would recommend the 2 to 3 co-founding team. I think actually 3 is a really good number. Yeah, a team is always better. It's hard to start by yourself. Not just for products per se, but just to share the weight of building something and also shared experiences when things really do get exciting. When you're a solo founder, sometimes it gets a bit lonely because you achieve big things and there might be nobody to share that with, but if you have a team, you get to experience that together, and it's a very special moment. So definitely 2 to 3 co-founders.
Okay, so what do you look for? It's a follow-up question by the same person. This is Emmanuel Opang. It says, Mr. Felix, what do you look for in the choice of a co-founder?
Complementary expertise and personality. If I'm talking to someone who wouldn't say he's technical, right? Someone who is very, very good technically as well. And if you're technical, then someone who can do the sales and things like that. Complementary skills, passionate, like that burning passion that you also have that you can share together, burning ambition, that delusional mindset as well. I think is also very important, but also someone that you can talk to openly, that can keep you grounded as well, and also someone you can keep grounded as well. I think those things are very important.
Awesome. So same person says, lastly, Felix, share more light on location, geography, and investor relations. You mentioned this in passing. He shared more light. So the guy is saying, how far this is not the kind of thing that you just pass.
Yeah,
right?
It's a good question.
I don't know what he means by Emmanuel. Can you rephrase your question? What do you mean by location and geography?
I think I
understand.
I think I know what he's asking. Yeah, I think I know what he's asking. What I meant was there are certain places that it's easier to raise investments, right? And there's certain places that are more friendly to building certain types of businesses, right? So if you have that sweet spot, it makes the journey a little
Give
bit
us
easier.
examples.
So for example, I was getting there now. It's so for example, right now, if you're building an AI infrastructure or defense tech company, you should probably be in San Francisco at the moment.
AI infrastructure or defense tech.
Yeah, you should probably be in San Francisco. I'm not saying move there per se, because I know it's hard to move to the US these days. It's always hard to move to the US, but right now it's even worse. But at least go and spend some time on ground and meet other people doing the same work. The density of talent in San Francisco, and I've been to Silicon Valley before. Density of talent there is insane. The density of investors there are insane. And I think it's important for every builder, if you have the privilege to be able to, spend some time in San Francisco. But right now, if you're building an AI defense tech, that's a really good place to go. London is also a very good place as well, for that. If you're in Africa and you're building, for example, um, in travel tech, Lagos is a great place. Nairobi is a great place. I'd even go to cities like Morocco, Egypt. These are also great places to build. Um, the Middle East is really coming up as well. I know Qatar, for example, when I was there in 2024 for Web Summits, investing heavily in their startup infrastructure, from funding to office space to accelerator programs, and they have a certain profile and flavor of companies that they like. They're all going all in on AI at the moment, especially UAE.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. That depending on where you are, what you're looking for, there's some places that are better than others for specifically for what you're building.
All right. Thank you so much. What about investor relations?
I'm going to need a bit more. That's a
So,
wide.
is a founder.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how to relate to the investors, how to build relationships before I need them, how to
Yeah.
actually raise the fund.
My view on this has changed a lot recently. I think the best way to successfully raise an investment round is when you don't need the money.
Correct.
Is when you don't need the money. Focus on building a great product and getting some initial traction first and foremost. It's going to be a long day for you if you're trying to raise with no data that or no signals that this is something people want. And unless you have a strong track record, maybe you've sold a company before, or you're senior operator at one of the fast growing startups or tech companies, the conversation is a bit different. But investors move on data, and also there's a lot of FOMO in the investment community as well. So the best way is always to just build a great product. And if you don't need the money, that's kind of when they want to talk to you the most. That's what I've experienced in the past, especially this year as well. So yeah, I'd say, and then also be extremely laser focused on finding aligned investors. Another thing I've really grown out of is
laser focus on finding what?
Aligned investors. Another thing I've grown out of recently is trying to convince people to believe me. It's like I'm trying to sell this thing to change your mind. You don't really think this is a great product. I'm trying to convince you that it is. I've stopped doing that, especially when it comes to investors. I'm now more laser focused on finding investors who already think there's something interesting here and showing them what I've built, and we can then dream together, versus trying to convince you that this is something that you should think is interesting. I don't waste my time doing that anymore. It helps a lot, especially balance the mental.
Awesome. Okay. We have, I think, one or two more questions. Okay, yes. So Nana says, at what point does being a highly independent founder become a limitation rather than a strength? So she's basically speaking to key man risk, which is what some investors always fear about. And this has happened. Their founders there are startups who sadly the founder dies,
Yeah.
or a key founder, usually technical founder, would exit the startup, and more or less the startup dies after the person exits because the person
Yeah.
was key to, the success of that startup.
Yes.
So let's speak to the solo founder, key man risk person.
Yeah.
At what stage does you being a talented solo founder become a liability rather than a strength?
At the point where you know you need help, but you're being stubborn about it. I would say very, very simply, that's when it becomes a limitation. Um,
But you can hire help, you can pay for help.
you 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 can, but it's okay. It all comes down to personality, of course. But at the point, if you need help and you're being stubborn about it, and you're not getting the help that you need in whatever form that help looks like, whether that's mentorship, whether that's a co-founder, whether that's paying for a team or whatever it is, that's when it becomes a big limitation for you. You can't be stubborn about it. You can't think I can do everything by myself. I know
Yeah.
it's been me from the beginning, therefore it's been me to the end. That's just ego speaking. And the journey of
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship forces you to reckon with your ego and typically drop your ego when it's necessary.
Yeah.
So if you're being stubborn about getting help, that's when it, as an independent, especially when you're independent,
So
you
the
just
help can be from a team, can be from advisors, consultants, investors.
yeah,
But basically, you need to. What you're saying is, if you say you're highly independent, you can do all and be all. Um, you most likely cannot do everything
hundred
or do
percent.
everything well. Yes. So when you have key dependencies that you cannot meet up with, and you're not reaching out for the help that is available, then it becomes a limitation.
Big
Is that what
limitation.
you're saying?
That's
Okay,
exactly what I'm saying.
awesome. Do we have more questions, or is that all?
Those are great questions.
Yes. Okay. So thank you so much for those questions. Yes, they were really great questions. And I have a few announcements. We're hosting Inspired Africa Conference again in Lagos, Nigeria. The dates are October 14th and 15th. Seats are filling fast. We have quality founders, quality product leaders, and we have a programming that is highly impactful and transformational because we don't do noise at Inspired Africa Conference. We focus on curating highly valuable experiences, and we would like to invite you to be a part of it. It's live in Lagos. It's also a virtual option. This is a paid conference, but it's valuable and it's worth the investment. We have a link in the comment section. If you click on it today, you can go for a ticket option that suits you. And I look forward to seeing you in Lagos, Nigeria. We have based and having a great time with you at the conference this year. Hopefully, Felix gets on a plane ticket and we actually get to see him too. Yeah, fingers
That,
crossed, guys. Fingers crossed.
that'd be nice.
Fingers crossed. Because they found that, so you may have to do permutation and combination before he gets
Ah,
on the ticket.
if you guys fly me out and pay for my hotel, then I'll just,
But you're a big man now. What's wrong with you?
no, I think be small boy.
All right. So thank you guys so much for being with us for this past hour. It's been 53 minutes of pure learning. Felix, thank you so much for your time. I have learned a lot. My notebook is full of lessons
It's a pleasure.
that I took down from you. I would say that my favorite quote from you today was, journey of entrepreneurship is as much what you build as who you become as a person. And I felt that was, very good. So that's like my primary takeaway from here.
Thank you. It's an honor to be back. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. I will wish you all the best as you do, Kahana. We hope and pray that it becomes a big company. So we also hope it impacts many, many lives globally. First of all, we hope it's profitable, and we hope that all your dreams of scale exit come to pass. Yeah. So
Thank
we really wish you well. as you build.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
coming. Thank you for being here. And thank you everyone for staying till the end. We look forward to hosting you at the Inside Africa conference in October. Thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
The Inspire Africa Conference is a space where we are empowering the next generation of African product leaders and talent. And so through workshops, spark talks, problem framing presentations, we will get to see how founders and innovators are tackling some of Africa's most wicked problems.
It's about connection. It's about you and me. It's about our future. It's about our continent.
When you can tell the story of how big the problem is in numbers, that evidence just makes your story so much more powerful.
Good founding, right, is about shepherding, right? It's about shepherding an ecosystem.